my parents knew that they had two choices: either return to Laos and quite possibly face death, or take their chances and deliver their children to this new land. The day my mother and father decided to come to America, they made a conscious choice to become a nobody. And they were willing to become a nobody so that their children might have a chance at becoming a somebody. The day my mother and father chose to come to America, they made a conscious choice to become blind and deaf. Blind because in this new country, if you don't know how to read, it is no different than not being able to see. And deaf because here in America, if you can't understand what people are saying around you, it is no different than not being able to hear. But my parents, they were willing to do this for us in the hopes that we might have a better future. You see, that is the same reason that immigrants have flocked to America, and that is the same decision others have made that have come before them. So my parents, they put in their application to come to America. And I asked my mother, they said, "So, the little girl, the one in the green dress, when was she born?" My mother said, "I know exactly when she was born. Zoua was born 2 crop cycles after the general left while I was harvesting wheat." So they said, "Okay, the war ended in 75, 2 years after that must have been 77. If she was harvesting wheat, must have been warm. Therefore, Zoua will be given the birth date of June 27th, 1977. They tried. They really did. They tried as best they could to capture the truth. But like our birthdays, how do you explain something that is not documented? Or in the case of the Hmong people, how do you then open up your border and your country to a group of people that, according to your foreign policy, were never supposed to have existed? Remember, this was a secret war, so the CIA did not keep rosters. There are stories of Hmong men being asked to go into a back room and assemble guns, guns like the ones that had been dropped into the jungles of Laos. For the families that were able to do that, they were given tickets to America. When it was my family's turn, my father and uncles, they were interviewed. They were quizzed about CIA operations and operatives, and when they were done with their interview, we too were given tickets to America. My parents, they could see and feel as soon as they boarded those planes coming for America that their lives would never be the same. My mother says, "Zoua, I was so dumb. I was thirsty. On the plane, I signed asking for something to drink. They gave me cookies. I didn't want that. I gave it back to them, and I continued signing, saying, 'I'm thirsty, give me something to drink.' She says, 'Zoua, I think they must have given me beer because it tasted like pee.'" Life in America, once they got here, life in America was not easy. At first, my parents didn't know how to drive, so they had to walk everywhere. There's a story, the one time when they both went to the store and they both came home with watermelons. Not because they bought 2, but because the one that they did buy was heavy, it fell, and it broke. At first they laughed, and then they cried, and then they swallowed their pride, and they picked up whatever pieces they could off the ground, and they walked it all home. They did that because they had to, because every dollar mattered, every cent mattered. It matters when you don't speak English. It matters when you can't find a job. It matters when you have to rely on the government for survival.